It's the Infectious Groove Podcast, part of the OddPods Media Network. Recorded from Detroit, Michigan, and Jacksonville, Florida. The Infectious Groove Podcast is your source for jammy jams, album reviews, and the best in-depth music discussion. Thanks for joining us. Now here are your hosts.
Well, hello. It is the Infectious Groove Podcast. My name is Russ. I'm your host this week, and with me in the second chair is Kyle. Kyle, how are you doing?
Good.
Kyle is wonderful and overly excited to be here, as you can tell by his.
I wasn't expecting you to shoot it over to me, right?
Yeah. That's my bad. However, this week our listeners get an extra helping of the OddPods Media Network because we have with us Sam, who hosts the 500 Section Lounge. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
And also overly excited to be here. As of the recording of this episode, 2 days ago was Sam's birthday. And I did promise Sam that we would have happy birthday sung to him on the show. So I'm going to play now, and hopefully this doesn't get us copyright struck, but I don't think it will. My personal favorite version of Happy Birthday ever.
Can we sing happy birthday for him? Happy birthday to you.
And then they go into the world's most drunken version of Walk This Way. So there's that. It's from an Aerosmith live album called Classics Live 2. And it very much sounds like it just occurred to Steven Tyler that he was supposed to sing Happy Birthday to somebody. And he remembers the first line of the song. And then it's hopefully the crowd knows how to sing this.
Well, it's always a great thing to have crowds sing your song to them. Is it good to have Happy Birthday sang?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was sang just for the bass player of Aerosmith, so it's not like it was anybody important. No, I'm a huge Tom Hamilton fan. I
know what you mean.
I kid. Having said that, Sam, you are coming to us from the 500 Section Lounge. What is it y'all do over there on your show?
Well, honestly, we are three dads who have a weekly family-friendly podcast where we just, hang out, joke around, go on tangents. That's kind of our thing is if we even with our guests, because we talk to great guests as well. People that have done amazing things, very interesting things, heroic things. There's not a certain niche.
Not to put you on the spot, but you've talked to everybody from the voice of Siri to, I don't know, drop a couple other names. Who's the
voice of Siri, the voice of Porky Pig.
Oh, that's right.
We just talked to Randy Lanier, who was the Rookie of the Year at the Indianapolis 500 in 1986, all while being America's largest marijuana drug trafficker in the history of the United States.
So he's accomplished some things.
Yeah, well, and he mentioned that it was even it was his side gig.
Right.
He had to know all the logistics and everything. So it was kind of he had to split himself in half, basically.
Yeah.
Do racing and then all the other nefarious.
Ain't that about a pain when you got to worry about, race car driving while you're worrying about the marijuana drug trafficking at the same time?
Right. Well, and when he raced in Indianapolis, even he knew he was within days of having a warrant out for his arrest for it. He knew at that point that it was basically the end of the line. And it amazes me that he was able to run at 200 plus miles an hour, knowing that's going to happen in the very near future.
I mean, people can tune into your show to hear the conversation, but it was probably partially adrenaline pushing him through that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Constant thought of, I'm going to get caught.
Right.
Having said that, Sam,
our basic tagline is we have legendary conversations from sports to history and everything in between.
Sure.
We don't have a specific niche. We talk to people, and that's just cool. Cool as all get out to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's really cool. You week after week, you come at me and you're like, we booked this person. I'm like, what? That's awesome. Yeah. Every single week, every person you say you book sounds great. So if folks are looking for y'all, where are they going to find the 500 Section Lounge?
You can go to oddpodsmedia.com. We have a place there that you can click on and go find our newest episodes. You can literally, though, find us basically anywhere that you can find podcasts. That's where you're going to find us. Social media. If you search 500 Section Lounge, you're going to get us somewhere in there.
Right on. Well, if you listen to the rest of this episode and you like what you hear and you want to hear more of Sam, do that. Search out the 500 Section Lounge. If you listen to the rest of this episode and you think, boy, I can't wait for this guy to not be a guest anymore, then don't go search for the 500 Section Lounge. The
It's
choice
really a coin flip, truly.
Yeah, the choice is yours. On the program this week, we're heading into what I consider, there's 2 times of year that I consider to be Elvis season. One is August and the other is January. January is when he was born. August is when he passed away and we lost him. And so this episode is going to come out at the top of August, and the Baz Luhrmann Elvis biopic is going to be on streaming services the day after this episode comes out. And instead of discussing that particular film, I thought it would be good if we all took a look at the actual King of Rock and Roll in what I feel is easily the best part of his career, which is in Las Vegas in early 1970. And so we're going to discuss the film about that era called Elvis, That's the Way It Is. And we will have that for you in the second half of the program. But as we always do, we have a couple of segments to get through in the first half. So here we go.
Feedback, John. Don't worry about that. Right. How would rock and roll be without feedback?
Long-time listener of the program, Sue, chimes in. She says, I am so far behind on my podcast, but I've been catching up, and I have to admit that I never realized that Weird Al did anything beyond parody. And Sue goes on to say, and this is actually, Kyle, this is funny because we've been switching back and forth between you and Michelle, and Sue has 2 pieces of feedback, and they're both on your episodes. But the other one that she said was, Rock is not dead. Look at the craze over Metallica thanks to Stranger Things and Guns N' Roses due to Thor. Lots of new music and ways to enjoy it all. Listen to what makes you happy. Also, Kyle, I am also too cheap to subscribe to YouTube. Which I understand.
Yeah, as much as those damn ads irritate me, I still can't. I cannot pay to watch YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. You just leave it out there.
I can't do it.
I have considered going to YouTube TV.
Right.
But that's that's the only way I'm going to pay for YouTube is if I'm getting like cable channels out of it.
Right.
Yeah. The Bloodthirsty Times podcast chimed in, and I don't believe we've heard from them before, but they said they listened to last week's episode and Brand New is one of their favorite bands. Devil and God is not their favorite album, but they love The Limousine and it's one of their favorite all-time songs, which Kyle, when we talked about Brand New last week, it was that Limousine was like the one track that all 3 of us were like, wow, that's a jam. And there was actually stories behind the song that I didn't know. You're never going to believe this, but Michelle knew some of the story, but forgot a lot of it, and Seth knew the rest of it. So, but it
sounds about right.
Yeah. So you see, Kyle, on the episode you weren't on, it was just the things that usually go on when you're here. Seth from the Queer Defense Squad, who was our co-host last week on the show, chimes in to say, I would like to say that I think I did a great job on this podcast. Seth goes on to say, I will be waiting in the curtains for any time you need me to fill in on the show, which was fantastic. And I know that Seth would like to get on an episode with you as well, Kyle. He's a big fan of all 3 of us, and you know how much he's supported us over the years. So Jamie Porter writes in on Facebook in response to our Brand New album review with simply, Brand who?
I saw that comment. I started laughing.
So I replied to Jamie with the Infectious Groove account, and I said, careful, you'll get thrown into the old category like Russ if you keep talking like that. And Jamie confirms for us. He says, I am an old. You mentioned the album Wish You Were Here, so I'll be listening to that instead. Detention wraps things up for us and says, you guys kept talking about this Brand New album and this brand new record that you heard, but you never mentioned who the artist is or what the record is titled. So I'll take a dad joke. I'm fine with dad jokes. That's good. And I would argue, by the way,
I do love me a good dad joke.
For sure. And I would, you know what? Brand New is one of those bands where, and I'm going to say this because I said this to somebody in public the other day and they were like, holy crap, you're right. Brand New is one of those bands that you could easily end up in a Who's on First situation with, where you're like Brand New and somebody like legit might not know what you're talking about. You know who has the least friendly band name in the history of the world? Like, when we're done with this episode, I challenge you to try and Google things about this band live. Right?
Yeah, they didn't take much consideration into what could happen in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you're searching a band, you go live band or live the band.
Yeah.
You're gonna get.
It doesn't matter what you talk. Live in concert, live album, newest live album. You know, and I mean, this act, they, you know, Selling the Drama, Lightning Crashes, I Alone, they have monster hits, you know?
Oh, for sure.
And you can even get in trouble with any of that. Selling the Drama live. Well, okay, yeah, I Alone live. You know what I mean? Like Google might be like, what are you talking about? You know, it's the least friendly band name in the history of the world, and they're a fantastic band. So
I literally have them on my jammy jams.
Oh, that's awesome. That's rad.
Yeah.
That is rad. Well, speaking of which, what a wonderful segue. It's almost like you're into podcasting, Sam. Let's move right along. Our jammy jams. I'm actually going to go first on this, and with zero connection to the whole birthday thing and playing the Aerosmith track for that. And Kyle, I assume you saw this on Facebook. Sam, you might have. Aerosmith has gone into the archives and is releasing tons of live footage that's never been released before. And we're not talking like Dream On live from this year and then Same Old Song and Dance from that year. They're releasing like whole pro audio mixed shows that have never been seen before by the public. And they put the first one up last weekend, which was a show from Houston in 1977. And it is as much drugs and debauchery as you would think that it would be for Aerosmith in the late 70s.
Yeah.
And the performance was fire. But so that kicked me off into just listening to a ton, because I'm one of the only people I know that I love every era of Aerosmith. For me, there's no huge divide between the Sony CBS years and the Geffen years. I like Moving Out and Sweet Emotion as much as I like Ragdoll and Dude Looks Like a Lady. Like there's no difference for me.
So you're saying you don't have a new and old Aerosmith? It's just all Aerosmith?
For me, it's all Aerosmith. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I know. Yeah, like with many, many other bands where there's a very clear divide when certain records come out and you know
Right.
one era is old and new. With Aerosmith, I don't. Everyone thinks of the Geffen era as this like crime against humanity as far as like making more commercial rock records, and I don't care. Those are all great songs. So anyways, they released the one this last weekend. Next weekend, I'm super excited because the one that's coming out this Saturday is from the Pump Tour, which is a tour. Cool. I love that album. And I wanted to go see Aerosmith on the Pump Tour, but I was too young. So it'll be fun for me to see a whole pro shot from that tour that I wanted to go see and didn't get to see as a kid, right? Then the weekend after that, they're releasing one from the Get a Grip tour, which is the first tour I got to see Aerosmith on. So that'll be cool to relive that, right?
Yeah.
Then the last one in the series that's coming is a show I was at from Comerica Park in 2003. And I had no idea it was being filmed for anything. So that's awesome. Yeah, this is going to be, just so everyone knows, like the next 5 episodes, my Jammy Jams will probably be Aerosmith. Most of the time I'll be like, can you believe I'm still listening to Aerosmith? So anyways, yeah, that is what my Jammy Jams have been. Kyle, what have you been listening to?
It's funny that you mentioned the whole live footage thing, because The Weeknd is currently touring. He was actually just here in Detroit a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is uploading all the footage from the shows to YouTube, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
And the only time I had ever seen him was at St. Andrews. So I was like, I want to see what this production is. I want to see what this is all
different,
about.
Huh?
So I started watching it, and I was like, holy shit, like, this is amazing. The fact that he came from St. Andrews to now playing Ford Field with 50,000 people in the stands.
Right.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah, 500 to 50,000 is quite a jump in attendance. Yeah.
Yeah, and to think that I was like in the crowd when he played at St. Andrews, like 20 foot away from him on stage, when he just had this little tiny like stage set up, and now it's just huge giant stage production and the whole 9 yards. So I got sucked into watching several different. One guy had uploaded a bunch of different footage from the same show. I don't know how I guess he got a bunch of people to send it to him, and then he put it all in the same video.
Yeah, a lot of people do that with tours. They'll do. It looks like a multicam bootleg.
Yeah, so all the angles were changing, and like it was awesome. And I was like, man, I absolutely, I think like Nosebleed was like $50 or something at Ford Field. Yeah. I absolutely regret not pulling the plug and trying to go to that, because it was amazing looking, amazing sounding. He just did a great job overall.
I'm going to
when
see.
You saw him at St. Andrews, did you know who he was, or did you just happen to see him?
No, I was an early adopter of him, and I went and stood out in line at St. Andrews for like 6 hours before the show even started.
Okay,
so like I went down there on purpose to see him.
I got you.
Kyle, what you talked about with the footage and stuff, I have my Roger Waters show here it's actually in Orlando, but here in Florida is not for another like 2.5 or 3 weeks. But because of what you're talking about, I've already watched the show like 4 times on YouTube, like the entire concert, it's going to be amazing in person. I don't know if you've seen any of the footage of the Roger Waters setup, but it is slick. It is really amazing what he's got going stage wise.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt when I ran across the weekend stuff. Like, that's
for
crazy.
sure.
Like that he's gone from
So as far as Jammy Jams go, you got the weekend.
I've been
what else?
watching a lot of that on YouTube, but what I've been listening to mostly is an artist named Boslin. I don't know how to pronounce it, which is a common thing on.
Do you give me a spelling just to make it easier on me?
But it's spelled Boslen.
Okay.
So I don't know, Boslin, one of the two, whatever. He has an album called Dust to Dawn, and I hate comparing one artist to another. Like, hey, if you like this, you like this, whatever. I really don't like doing that. But he is very much in the same realm of like Travis Scott. With Travis Scott with less auto-tune.
Okay, I got you.
So it's like dark melodic like rap.
Right on.
And I just ran across it on Spotify. I don't even know. It popped up in one of my playlists or whatever. And as soon as I heard the one song, I was like, holy shit! Like, I need to hear more of this right now.
Okay. And did you say, was it a
and
full
found his
LP
album.
or?
Yeah, it's a full album. I think there's 12 songs.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's definitely full LP.
Yeah.
Right on. Cool. So is it the weekend and either Boslin or Boslin that you've been listening to? Right on. Saving the best for last, probably the most handsome of the three of us. I know people can't see it when they're looking, but when they're lilistening, but phew, let me tell you what.
Everybody says it. I don't, but everybody does.
Yeah. Hey, listen, majority rule. You know what I mean? You can't do anything about what everyone says.
Who am I to argue with everyone?
I know. Sam from the 500 Section Lounge. What are your Jammy Jams this week, sir?
I have 3 songs, but the third song spurred like even more listening. So I'll go in that order. My first one's Salisbury Hill. I love that song.
Peter Gabriel.
It's telling about his breakup with Genesis.
Yes, Genesis.
Thank you. So but it's just a really cool sounding song, and I really dig it. Like every time I listen to it or it comes up, I listen to it at least a second time.
That's a song that I don't even like that much, the song, but it's produced so well that I will listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. Then the second one's live, Dolphins Cry.
What a jam.
Really cool.
Man, that's from how all those bands came out and they had at least one huge record. I would argue Live had at least 2. They had
Throwing Copper was one.
Throwing Copper and then Secret Smarty, the follow up. But that record and it's self-titled, the album with Dolphins Cry on it. That song is so good. That's one of my favorite songs by that band, and I don't think it was anywhere near as big of a hit as it should have been.
No, it should have been probably. In my opinion, I'm in the same boat. I like that the best of their songs. It's really the voice, the vocals is just incredible for me. And then he's just got a really good voice, and it's a cool song. Yeah,
I finally got to see them in concert. I've corrected myself from saying I saw them live about 5 years ago, and they were so good. Not that Ed Kowalczyk, he doesn't have like a huge vocal range, so it's not like you'd go and be like, oh, he can still hit the high notes. Very mid-range singer, but the whole band, even their drummer had a broken arm. And he still played the whole show with an arm in a sling, and the whole band was having a great time. But the whole set list, I kept being like, would you just play the Dolphins Cry? Because they're going through all the hits, And I was like, would you just play? But they saved that for the closer. So they must love the song too. Like, this is a band that could have closed with, Lightning Crashes or I Alone or whatever. And they closed with Dolphins Cry. And I was like, oh man, they must like the song as much as I do,
Right. Because they keep the ones that they either are their mega hit, or most of the time anyways, or one that's their favorite as their closer.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's only one band on planet Earth, and I feel very strongly about this opinion, who can open and close with any song in their catalog that they feel like. And I think you alluded earlier, this might even be your Jammy Jams, but Aerosmith. Aerosmith can open and close with whatever they feel like. They can open with Dream On, they can close with it. They can open with Walk This Way, they can close with it. Sweet Emotion, Loving in an Elevator, Crying, amazing. It goes on. Aerosmith could literally walk out on stage and open and close with whatever whatever song that they want to. Everyone else on Earth, like since the beginning of the dawn of time, GNR closes with Paradise City. Everclear is going to always close with Santa Monica. You know what I mean? Like everyone else on Earth has their hits that they have to close with, and Aerosmith could open and close with whatever they want. So
I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah.
I have one more.
Go on, sir.
It's Honeybee by Tom Petty.
Jam.
It's on the Wallflowers album.
Oh, I'm aware.
And I go on the record. I know nothing about music, but I will contend that start to finish, that is my all-time favorite album, start to finish.
It's such a good record.
That isn't that there is banger hits on every, but it flows so well together. There are really, really good songs. And I will argue with anybody, Wallflowers is the best for me.
Now,
compilation of songs.
Let me throw two things about the Wildflowers project at you. Number one, did you know that
Wildflowers, not Wallflowers? Jesus.
Did you know that originally that was supposed to be a 2 CD set? And I
did not.
Yeah. Okay. So Tom Petty turned in 2 full albums. That was the Wildflowers project. And Warner Brothers was like, oh, nobody's going to buy a 2 CD set from Tom Petty. You got to pare this down to 1. So he did. But hold on. Here's why that's good news for you, though. Because last year, if you look up on streaming something called Wildflowers and All the Rest, it's been restored.
Oh, yeah.
It's been restored to the original track listing. So a lot of times when bands do that, it's we found all this other crappy material that wasn't that good in the first place. With this, that's all the songs that were supposed to be on Wildflowers.
This was supposed to be part of it,
right?
He felt strong enough that it was.
So it's not like somebody found a crappy tape of Tom Petty playing singing, and they were like, "Oh, look, we made a new Tom Petty song." Like, no, these are all like finished songs that he wanted you to hear then. So if you like Wildflowers, there's more of it for you to get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go check that one out. But yeah, Wildflowers is just absolutely amazing, the whole thing. And if there's more of it that is like that, then I'm going to be even happier. But those are my jammy jams.
One other note on Wildflowers and specific to Honeybee. If you ever want to treat yourself, go to Google or YouTube and type in Tom Petty, Honeybee, Dave Grohl, because Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers played SNL. You know how when your new record comes out, you play SNL. Wildflowers had come out. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were booked on SNL. And Dave Grohl, with no announcement or anything, sits in and plays drums on Honeybee. And if you know how rocking that tune is, well, and it's the first public appearance Dave Grohl made after Kurt passed away. So he there's the very first, he didn't even know if he was ever going to play music again. And he just sat in with Tom Petty. And that is the thing that made him be like, I think I should still do music. So it's even just for and you can barely see him, because remember how Grohl used to have like hair down past his shoulders and he'd look like an animal back there, like you can barely even see him back there, but still, it's Grohl,
Right.
And so specific to that song you mentioned, which by the way, the riff on that song is 20 kinds of killer. Just, What a great riff.
It's a very underestimated song by many people on that album.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's funny. I promise I don't mean to keep derailing my own show here, but the first time I heard that song,
it's the tangents.
Because the lead single off of that record was "You Don't Know How It Feels" off of Wildflowers. So that was the only thing anybody had ever heard. And I went with a friend of mine to see his friend's cover band one weekend, and they played Honeybee before it was on the record. It wasn't ever a single. I was like, man, this is a jam. He's like, yeah, it's on the new Tom Petty record. And I was like, well, I'm going to buy that tomorrow. So hearing someone even cover that song before I had heard the whole record made me buy that record.
I had a ripped DVD a copy of the DVD until the Borders bookstore close to where I was living was going out of business.
Right.
And I found a copy of it for like $6. And I've still got it. Like I'm not, that will remain. Doesn't matter if I don't ever have a CD player, I'll keep it.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you.
They'll come back anyways in 20 years or whatever. They'll be.
Yeah. When everybody starts collecting digital media as a thing of the past in the future. Right on. Those were the feedback that we received from everybody, and there are jammy jams from the three of us that we wanted to share with you. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to get into discussing this here Elvis Presley motion picture. Not the bad one. This is not one of his movies from the 60s. It's an Elvis concert film from 1970 called Elvis, That's the Way It Is. We'll get into that in just a second when we come back. You're listening to the Infectious Groove podcast on the OddPods Media Network.
Hey, you there. We've got a question for you. Are you tired of clickbait stories and the loudest voices driving discussions in culture and entertainment?
If so, I'm Dylan.
I'm Kendall.
And I'm Corey. And we host the podcast From the Middle. We're middle-class guys living in the middle of America, in the middle chapters of our lives with points of view somewhere in the middle.
We take a more reasonable and centrist approach in our discussions covering genres like comedy, culture, entertainment, and interviews with really interesting folks like business owners, comic creators, doctors, news anchors, New York Times best-selling illustrators, professional stand-up comics, and more. We really value a relaxed and conversational podcast, one that we hope is so fun and laid back, you'll forget you're not actually hanging out with us.
So search at From the Mid Pod, just like it sounds, or check us out everywhere you can find podcasts.
Hi, I'm Tina Jaramillo.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
And we host the Muck Podcast, where we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics.
Hey, Tina, did you know that Elvis crashed the Nixon White House for the sole purpose of getting a DEA badge, and it worked?
What? Or how a gun control advocate senator out of California engaged in gun trafficking with notorious gang leader Shrimp Boy?
Shrimp Boy, I remember him. Okay, so, we cover all of that and more for maladies, madness, mischief, and murder in U.S. politics.
And we also host a bi-weekly interview segment called Lil Muck.
We interview politicians, journalists, activists, and others who share their experiences in politics.
Find the Muck Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts and check us out on social media at the Muck Podcast.
We are back. It's Russ and Kyle from the Infectious Groove Podcast, and sitting in with us this week is Sam from the 500 Section Lounge. And these gentlemen were so kind as to watch an Elvis Presley motion picture that I asked them to watch because, as I mentioned in the first half of the show, we're kind of going into what I feel is the first of two Elvis seasons, or I guess the second of two Elvis seasons for the year, and that is August when he passed away. So there tends to be a lot of Elvis focus out there, and the day after this episode premieres, the Baz Luhrmann biopic Elvis is going to be on streaming services. So I thought that we would talk about a different motion picture and far different from what most people consider to be an Elvis movie, and that is the Elvis concert film, That's the Way It Is. Now, one thing I want to tell both of you gentlemen, because you watched the current version that's available, which I don't know if either of you noticed, but anywhere that it's listed as That's the Way It Is Special Edition. And I will tell you why that is. The reason why that is because this film actually, the first release of this film was November of 1970, because obviously they were trying to capitalize on the fact that Elvis was doing these insane sellouts of runs of shows in Las Vegas. So they filmed it earlier in the year, put it together and put it out. And people like myself generally grew up disappointed in the film because almost the entire first half of the film is them talking to fans that you don't care about at all, about how much they love Elvis. And you're like, yeah, I agree. I love Elvis too. That's why I'm watching this film, like who are you? I don't care. And then it very abruptly switches halfway through the film to the footage that they shot in Las Vegas, the concert footage. Okay, so all of us that grew up on Elvis grew up very disappointed with this movie. Like, this could have been so much better. Well, then in 2001, January of 2001, Turner Classic Movies got a hold of all of this raw footage that was shot and never used for the film, and they completely reworked it and re-released it as That's the Way It Is Special Edition, which is the film that you guys see here now today, which I would say is 1,000 times better than the original version. So much so that I would never, ever recommend someone watch the original.
I know. I was going to ask you about that because when I was reading about it, I was like, did we watch the re-edited version or the original? Because I read that it was re-edited in 2001, but I had no clue because all the information on HBO or whatever says it was filmed in 1970. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, the one that's on HBO Max is what I feel is the definitive version of the film. It really gives you an idea of, you both know this from talking to me personally, and I would assume our podcast listeners have heard me say this more than a few times, but there is so much more to Elvis Presley as a performer and an artist than most people even have a glimpse of. And for me, this film really dispels a lot of that. Oh, well, he just sang other people's songs, or, oh, he just stood there and sang on stage. So that's why, to me, this is a very important film. I feel like people should very much take the time to watch. So having said that, we always have some discussion points that we want to get into. I have to assume that this was the first time watching this film for both of you, but I will ask, Sam, had you ever seen this or any clips of it prior to watching it for the show?
Prior to watching it for the show, no, but I did watch it twice.
That's good. I'll take that. You keep going, you'll be up to the 10,000 times I've seen
yeah,
it.
well,
no.
But have you watched this version 10,000 times?
At least 5.
Okay.
At least 5. And I would say the original version, I probably didn't even watch the whole thing a bunch. I would usually put it in and skip up until about halfway through the film and be like, yeah, let's get to the part where I get to watch Elvis.
Performances.
Yeah. Kyle, had you seen this before? I don't even know if I might have even shown you clips of it before or no.
I don't. You might have shown me clips of it before, but that was the first time that I ever sat down and watched the entire thing, like through and through.
Right on. Now, and one thing too, Kyle, I remember when we did an album review of Elvis live at Madison Square Garden. That's from June of 1972. And I remember you being blown away by that. Like, wow, like this dude, there's so much more to this dude here than I ever thought was before. Okay, so now in this movie, you rewind the clocks 2 years, right? You get an even younger, meaner performer as far as like him being in the zone, and you get to see it. You get to see what it is that, in my opinion, like I can rest the entire case I've always made for, oh, there's so much more to Elvis than you know, on this movie. Like anybody who watches it. So having said that, was there anything in the movie that stood out to you or surprised you? And Kyle, we'll start with you and the reason why is because of your thoughts on Madison Square Garden, where you were like, damn it, this dude was like way better than I thought he was,
So I don't know how, I love the way that it was like shot and put together.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I realized that we watched the re-edited version, I was going to say it looked like how when movies that come out today are trying to look like old, like 70s movies.
Right.
Like how, like all the crazy, like zoom ins and like pans and like, it all looks like retro. Right. So I don't know if that was the movie company trying to get it to look like it was made back then.
I can answer that question for you this way and tell you this. If you track down the original version, the zooming and everything was 10 times worse. It was all filmed that way. And they actually used a bunch of Steadicam technology on the footage to calm all that down as much as they could for the re-edit. Because dude, I'm telling you, if Elvis put his hand up, the original director was like, with his, and
so the amount that was in there, I enjoyed because it reminded me of like Charlie's Angels or something, where they just had like the old, like it was just like vintage feeling. And I was like, man, this is the way this is filmed is awesome. And like having a film background, I was like, this is like, this is a documentary I want to watch. Like how it's filmed.
They took it down to like just enough of that. Whereas in the original, it was what could only be described as an obscene amount in the original. But
they kept the feel like it was still being like they calmed it down, like you said, but they still made it feel like it was shot in the 70s. Like you knew it was a 70s shot.
Mm-hmm.
I would say what surprised me the most was the vulnerability and the candidness of all of the footage of Elvis just messing around with the crew and the band and like just being goofy, and like it adds a whole other element. I got some of that listening to that Madison Square Garden tape, but like you got to see the full him and his element just joking around, like when they were throwing the ice at each other. And like I was like literally laughing while I was watching. Like it was hilarious. It was just awesome to see.
I love that portion and the reason why that happens is because you see that the Memphis Mafia, these guys that thought they ran the world because they're Elvis's boys, right? And I love how Elvis has to correct them in front of the entire room when he stops the whole band and he's like, James, they don't tell you when to start. And I do love the thing too where like you say, the vulnerability of him going back and forth with his band, and that guy's you can't hear what the guy says in the crowd, but Elvis says, well, they'll cut that out. You can't say big ass in this movie. It's just, and again, Kyle, none of that is in the original. None of it. None of the rehearsal footage. Nothing from the rehearsal footage is in the original film.
That literally makes the entire movie almost like that.
I couldn't agree more.
the lead up to him performing is fantastic. Like all the rehearsals, all that. It's amazing.
Not to cut you off,
we all
Sam,
know
but-
they're great performers. We want to know what they do.
Right. So here's the thing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Kyle, this to your point, Kyle, and I've talked to you about this extensively offline, Kyle. Elvis, the arranger, I think matters every bit as much as somebody who, because the thing you hear about Elvis all the time is, oh, he didn't write his own songs. Okay. Well, he did stand in a room and tell one of the best rhythm sections ever and two of the best vocal sections ever and an orchestra. No, I want you doing this and you doing this. And you see the look of frustration on his face. Like if they don't do something, there's parts where he waves off whole sections of the band and is like, no, you are not doing that right. If you got the balls to stand in the room and tell James Burton, Glenn Hardin, a full orchestra, the Imperials, the Sweet Inspirations, you got the nerve to be like, no, wrong. You know what you're doing with music.
Right, yeah.
Sam, what were you going to say?
No, I was just gonna. The one thing that surprised me, and like I said, I know there's always preparation. You just don't know it. He basically put on 3 concerts in one day.
Right.
They were doing their rehearsal just together. Then they did it on stage. I mean, he did an entire concert basically twice before he even went on stage for the actual concert.
So here's something else that might come to surprise you then. Do you know that between 1970 and 1977, Elvis performed 1,198 concerts?
Good Lord.
So if you would like to know why Elvis Presley passed away at 42 years old, it's from doing 1,198 concerts in 7 years. And those shows that you're seeing in the film, That's the Way It Is, he was doing 3 and 4 shows a night in that room, sold out.
Yeah, you know,
It's
watching that,
mind-blowing.
like not only is it mind blowing, but like, it's like who cares if he doesn't write his own songs? You're watching a true professional that was an expert at what he did, and you get to see it in his like the raw, true form that he was off stage, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and you see when you look at him off stage, his hands always tapping, foot's always tapping.
Yeah.
Like this dude, like music was in him. Kyle, you did remind me of a point too that always stands out to me. If you've ever been on stage or you've ever spoken in front of anyone, you've ever sung or anything, and you think, I should be over stage fright. Like, why am I getting stage fright, right? All you need to do is look in the footage of this movie where Elvis Aaron Presley walks out on stage. Let me say that again. Elvis Aaron Presley, arguably the greatest performer in the history of music and the first person to do those magnitude of performances. And you see the look on that guy's face when he walks out on stage. If that ain't stage fright, I don't know what is. So if that guy gets stage fright, it's okay for the rest of us to get stage fright.
One of your questions, and are you going to ask each of the individual questions like the favorite segment and stuff?
Yeah. We'll get through that. Yep.
Okay. Well, the reason why I was going to say something
take
about
us
it
there.
is because what you're talking about right now is exactly that.
Yeah. Go on. Take us in there.
It's my favorite part of the show. I've coached baseball and football for 20 plus years. And I always told players, look, it's good to be nervous because that means you care about your performance. You're not just going through the motions of just, well, I've got to do this, got to do this. The fact that you could see the nervousness in Elvis's eyes. And then he says, I'm a little nervous. And that to me just blew my mind. Because if there would be many, performers like that, maybe not Elvis specifically, but performers like that, you could see them going on autopilot.
Oh, easily. Yeah. And I think
especially 1,100 shows in 7 years.
Kyle, we joke about it. You've seen far less concerts than I have. And I guarantee you have been there when you've been like, I think this guy's on autopilot, like the performer you're seeing, and now
100%. Yeah.
I will say this, and I think you'll both agree, Kyle, I'll just ask this to you directly. After the nerves subside, I would say Elvis becomes very comfortable on stage at one point.
Oh yeah. It's so funny to see that musicians often take themselves so seriously that they can't get embarrassed or like joke around or crack jokes in front of the crowd or the band or whatever. He is the complete opposite of that. I think that it maybe even helps him get over being nervous on stage, is being able to be, funny and joking around and hey, let's have a good time. And it shows. And I think that it helps him immensely put on a fantastic performance.
Yeah.
That adds to the entire performance.
Well, even when you said the joking around, there's there's the one part where he turns around, takes the mic off the mic stand, and then he just grabs the mic stand. He's like, if you milk this thing long enough, and it's just like, why would you think that 5,000 people in that room would think that's funny? But he does it, and they all laugh, and even the band's laughing at it, and that's not even that's just a real quick minor joke that he does.
When they're doing rehearsals and the the microphone like starts to fall off the stand and dips down, and he just has this hilarious look on his face, like he's just like, what the hell, like what the hell's going on right now? And then
also when they're rehearsing Get Back, and he gets shocked like you wouldn't believe from that microphone.
Yeah.
He looks so mad, and then when he gathers himself, he's like, it shocked the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, did you have like a favorite segment or a favorite part, whether it's a song or a passage in the movie that you were like, damn, this is great?
I think overall just the backstage stuff where he just you got to see him being vulnerable, and he's this giant superstar, but like just a regular dude trying to do his job that he really, really loved to do. And like the thing that stuck out to me, I think was my favorite, was the whole ice thing when they're on stage. They're throwing ice cubes at each other and whatnot, and like he's laughing on stage, and like it's just they're going back and forth. It's just awesome.
Yeah, and everybody involved like is dedicated to doing their job well, but they're also still having fun while they're doing it, which I think is another good principle in life to live by.
And I think that is why everyone around him did such a good job, not only because they needed to, because he's Elvis, but because he made doing the job good fun. It wasn't this like serious, like, like Nazi, like I'm going to fire you if you mess up or whatever. Like it was very, very like he meant business, but it was also fun business at the same time.
Well, and your boss was busting his ass. You'd better do the same,
Yes, exactly.
I mean, you could only expect to give your, the same amount. And that, if you don't, then you're on the curb,
Yeah. And, Kyle, you talked about the difference between how, the working environment, I guess, for the musicians. And one thing that sticks out for me in this film is when first, it's almost like I have to break this down in stages. When Elvis is talking to the Sweet Inspirations fairly early in the film, when he arrives and he's kind of meeting with the band. First of all, I would be shocked if any of the big name performers today even know the names of their backup singers, let alone have had a conversation with them, For sure. So
he was having like a full on personal conversation with them. It wasn't like, hey, how's it going? Like, yeah.
Well, in the one Sweet Inspiration asks him what happened to a member of the crew. And then Elvis lights into this like detailed story about the guy's personal life and how he had a kid and it's in another state. And very genuinely is like, oh, I hate to lose him, and that for me is stunning to what you're like, that's Elvis Presley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like he doesn't have to care at all. It'd be, what happened to Bill? Who cares? You'll be just like him if you screw up. You know what I mean? Like that's what you.
Yeah. Not only did he care about what happened to that guy, but he cared enough to go and explain it to other people that were wondering what happened to the guy. So it's like.
Yeah.
Did you have very cool to see?
Did you have a favorite song, whether it be from the rehearsal footage or the actual concert footage later? Did you have any one particular song that stuck out to you where you were like, geez, that's a great version? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
no, I don't think I have one that I favorited over the other ones. Just the entire thing altogether was so fantastically put together, and I'm glad that we got to witness this version and not the original version, because I probably would have turned the original one off.
I have a 2 DVD set from when they first released the special edition on DVD, and the first DVD is the original version of the film, and then the second DVD, the first DVD has come out of the sleeve like once in like the 21 years that I've owned it. But if you ever decide that you want to see a really crappy version of this movie, I can send that up your way. For you
you talked about how the original one was basically just fans geeking out, and then saying how much they love Elvis and everything. There was one thing, and I told you I took notes. I don't take notes, like I don't prep. When it comes, but like this was like, man, this like, and it was before you even sent the questions. Like I'd already written them down. So, but like I noticed the adoration that existed between the band and Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Elvis and the band, we just talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously the fans love him, but he truly, truly loved each and every one of his fans. I mean, hell, he walked through the
That's
crowd.
another thing. Could you even imagine somebody of his stature today being in the first
I have
row?
written down
Yeah.
unheard of now.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
completely.
He's
So, like,
kissing women in the front row and like shaking people's
taking
hands,
gifts,
all
taking
sorts
gifts
of
from them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like when he when he shows the band that necklace that he got. He's like, look.
but the thing is
Yeah.
you truly could see that he appreciated it. It didn't matter, if it was a $10, cheap ass necklace, or if it was,
Mhm.
well,
Well, when he takes the time, when he
loved
leans,
it.
when he leans down and signs that autograph for that
Yeah,
young lady that
yeah.
drew the picture of him. I like when he looks at the picture. He goes, "Oh, it looks like Engelbert Humperdinck." And then, well, Sam, you talk about the adoration. I think it's right near the same section of the film when he leans down to kiss that young lady who is like frozen in fear, and he says, "What do you want to kiss?" And she goes, just crumbles, and she's like, "Yes," and then he leans over to the older lady. And he goes, "Do you want to get serious?" She goes, "Yes." It's like,
Well, it was
lady,
just
you speak
awesome
for everyone.
to see that they were, that, and I don't think you see any of that in the original, probably.
No, the original is a lot of people sitting around going, "Boy, I sure like Elvis." And, "Oh man, I've been listening to Teddy Bear for 15 years now," whereas this one, you not only do you see more of the mutual admiration between Elvis and his fans, but Sam, something you touched on that I wanted to go back to is Elvis was not fronting and bossing around these people. And Kyle touched on this to a certain extent too. If you look, when he goes to hit like a certain note or he sings something a certain way, he's looking at the band for approval. It's as much for the fans as it is for those folks on stage. And another thing, I think this speaks to his relationship with those folks. Every person that you're seeing on stage there in this film was with him for all 1,198 shows all the way up till the end. That's the same.
Yeah, and you can tell they like.
Yeah.
It's so what they do is so good, and it's because of that. It's like a sports team that's played together for 10 championship seasons. They are experts at what they do with one another, and it really shows.
And what you're seeing in this film is the birth of the dynasty. Like it's literally, it's the first season that they played together. Like I say season, but it was the concert season in Las Vegas. It was the first season they played together, and then they kept that tightly knit championship team together literally all the way until he passed.
Well, and think about something is why are the Beatles kind of known as one of the greatest bands, or by many the best band? It's because they had so much time together. They did so many shows together that they knew everything, ins and outs of reactions and stuff. And when you have bands like that with Elvis, I mean, come on, it's the king of rock and roll, and then you pile all that, they're all together. It's one hell of a show, and it's an event. And the fact that none of them are, he didn't. He was still passionate about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm going to throw this out just as a favorite song. And to be honest, if you ask me what my favorite song is in this film is going to be, I'm going to say all of them. But I would just like to I think the version of "You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'" in this movie is a masterwork.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's a slightly different arrangement than the Righteous Brothers version that everyone's used to, but he still hits all the points in the song that most people would want to hear. And I would argue, and I know people are going to be upset when I say this, I would argue that Elvis's version of "You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'" that's in this film has more passion behind it than the Righteous Brothers version does.
I wouldn't necessarily argue with that at all.
No, I don't think that I would argue that.
Yeah, the man sings it like, and you have to remember too, and this is a little inside baseball, but Priscilla had just left him right around the time of these shows. And so that's why the set list is, "You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'," "Bridge Over Troubled Water," 20 Days and 20 Nights, all of these hypothetical songs about a man who's very upset that he screwed, that he screwed up. And, Kyle, and I told you that was a theme that carried through to, if you look at Madison Square Garden 2 years later, he's still not the same set list, but he still every song he could think of. That's, that Funny How Time Slips Away, There Goes My Everything, songs like that had made their way into the set list because he was like, I'm still really mad at myself for.
And that's exactly what what happens when you, as an artist, can personally connect to something that you're singing, even if you had nothing to do with writing it or any of that, arranging it, any of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can directly relate to that, it transcends into like outer space as far as like how great it can be.
Mm-hmm.
If
I
you can
remembered
relate.
something I was going to say.
Go right
earlier,
ahead,
by the
Sam.
way. And you bringing that up made me think of it. Is I don't care if they wrote it or not. If they perform the hell out of that song, that's fine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I don't care if they're a good writer. If they can sing it well and somebody's okay with writing and not being the performer, I'm fine with that personally.
Yeah,
For sure.
And I used to care a lot about that, and then I met Russ, and he's like, yeah, but look at, like, we've listened to a lot of Elvis over at Russ's house, and like he's like, but listen to him sing this, and it's because all of his drama with Priscilla and all this shit happened to him, and like he's personally able to relate to this, and that's why it's such a fantastic song. From then on, I was like, yes. From then on, I was like, okay, it doesn't. If an artist can relate to it, then have at it, man. Like I want to hear it.
You know, I have one more thing to mention about directly to your point, Kyle, about Elvis and how he felt those songs. But I will mention this. So Kyle said, you know, until he met me, he thought that, and then I was kind of helped change his mind. Kyle, I remember you and I went and saw a gentleman at Ford Field who didn't write not one word of any of the songs we saw performed that night. What was that guy's name? Oh, Garth Brooks. Kyle, would you say he put on a decent show, even though he didn't write any of his music?
Oh my God. That was such a good show. And like that is, I think where it started was a conversation about Garth Brooks and then Elvis as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, there was one night where I brought up a bunch of songs that I like, and I couldn't believe that the person who sang them didn't write them because they're so good.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, man, like it has nothing to do with that. Like these guys, like they feel this shit, and like that's why it comes out like this.
Right. Now, the point I wanted to make real quick, or mention rather, not make, but is Glenn Hardin was Elvis's piano player. So you see him quite a bit in this film. And he was interviewed sometime in the 80s, we'll say 84, 85, somewhere around there. And the interviewer brought up and said, you know, as much as you guys did great or whatever, you know, this guy was doing, even when he was on tour, you know, when he played Madison Square Garden, he played sold out Madison Square Garden 5 times in 2 days. You know, he did 2 shows one day, 3 days, 3 shows the next day. But in Vegas, on average, they were doing at least 3 shows a night, sometimes 4. And so the interviewer, I feel, had every right to ask Glenn Hardin, said, you know, how can you play Hound Dog 4 times in a night and still make it fresh? Or insert song here, Bridge Over Troubled Water, whatever's in the set list at the time. And Glenn Hardin said that the reason why it was always fresh for them is because they weren't worried about the notes they were playing. They were worried about Elvis's performance. And they said, sitting on stage, you know, the 4th time through Bridge Over Troubled Water for the night, you could see the music, the lyrics hit Elvis's brain and then go through his heart and then out his mouth. And that's what made every single performance special, to where they never were like, oh God, here we go, you know, and start playing the piano for Bridge Over Troubled Water. They were just like, oh man, I can't wait to see how he does it. 4th time tonight, 7th show or 7th day this week. And I still I'm here for every one of these, and I still want to see how he renders Bridge.
Yep. And that's because he truly gave a shit about what he was doing.
Yep.
And had he put on a bad show, he would have been devastated because the fans would have gotten a shitty show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where what I was just getting ready to say is he cared about his fans enough that he didn't want to give them a shitty show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he made sure that it came from, like you said, brain, heart, mouth. You know, like you could tell it progressed and come through his heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would agree, like even, you know, something remedial like Hound Dog. Kyle, you remember the like almost slow rock disco version that's in Madison Square Garden. You know, he was like sprucing up that song, right? And then this version, and that's the way it is. He has so much fun with the intro of it. Mm-hmm. And man, when they tear into that, holy crap, that's a ripping version of that song, you know?
Yeah.
So as we go through things, we have one more point, and I believe we're all in agreement on this, but stranger things have happened on the show before, so I will ask the question anyways. Sam, having never seen the film before, having watched it twice since you were asked to watch it for this show, would you recommend that other people check out Elvis That's the Way It Is?
Oh, for sure. 11 out of 10.
We don't even rate movies, sir. We'll take that though.
I don't either, but that's why you see my math is a little off.
We will take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was honestly, I didn't know what to expect when you told me what to
Sure.
watch.
Yeah, I get that.
And then when I watch, because I do know that there are some horrible documentaries, you know, and so I got to watch it and I'm like, man, I can't stop.
Yeah.
I can't stop. So I watched it and it was great to see him as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
As well as that legend.
Kyle, over to you. And you don't have to give us a rating, but would you encourage, say someone was, you know, and I don't mean this in any sort of derogatory way, but say someone was like you 2 years ago and you're just like, yeah, Elvis is there, you know, like, would you say you should see this?
Yeah, I would recommend this movie to anybody, especially if you want to see above and beyond what you think that Elvis was or what he behaved like, or, you know, he was more than just a showman on stage. Like, he was a human that acted hilarious and like made jokes and got mad and got nervous and all those things.
Yeah.
And you can see all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like this cut of this film in many ways is the blueprint for which a lot of like what you've mentioned on the show, Kyle, like a lot of these, like I'm a real person too documentaries that come about now for musicians. I feel like this is not only the birth of it, but very organic. Like I don't, at no point in the film does it come off as if they set up a scene or something. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they just rolled camera.
I very much wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. And I was expecting to have it on in the background while I'm doing stuff on the computer, you know, whatever. And I literally could not take my eyes off of it. Like I was just sitting there staring at the entire, I watched the entire thing. I didn't even get done what I was trying to do on the compuder. I was just focused and watched the entire thing. And it was,
well,
I was blown away.
Let me be the first to say.
You made me feel better, Kyle, because I had it on while I was working and I stopped working and watched it.
Yeah, see, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
well, let me be the first to say on behalf of the late Elvis Presley, you're both welcome. Elvis and I are happy that we could have destroyed your productivity, because that's the way it was meant to be anyways, right? These are all Vegas performances. Nobody was supposed to be working when this stuff was going on. You were supposed to be
that's true.
on vacation having the time of your life. Real quick, one last thing I want to mention, because this just popped into my head. I love when the lights are about to go down for the concert and the cameras casually catch Cary Grant and Sammy Davis Jr. And again, you talk about the everyman. They're both just in the crowd. Like they're not VIP. They don't have security around them. It's in the end credits of the film, they show Elvis holding court backstage with the two of them. And I love Sammy Davis is doubled over laughing at something Elvis said, and the audio is purposely muted. So I think Elvis might have said something that wasn't family friendly.
Think about if you were at the concert where Sammy Davis Jr. and Cary Grant are sitting next to you at an Elvis concert.
I just said that to Lauren. I was watching the film again this morning, and then when they show Cary Grant go to take a seat, I said to Lauren, I'm like, if you, and no one will be able to see this, you guys will be able to see this on camera here, but the listening audience won't be able to see this. But I said, would you not just sit in your booth the whole time being like side like, Cary goddamn Grant. Like, who do you look at? Do you look at Elvis or Cary Grant?
Right.
Yeah.
So anyways, as you might imagine, from me, it is a resounding, oh dear God, please watch Elvis. That's the way it is. Even if you have an outright negative opinion of Elvis because of whatever clickbait article you've read in your life, and you think there's nothing more to this guy outside of he just sang some songs other people wrote, please take a chance on proving yourself wrong and seek out Elvis. That's the way it is. And in my opinion, and I think you two stand by me on this, be amazed. Just be amazed at who this guy really was and what he was capable of.
And I didn't go into this skeptically. I figured I would enjoy the musical part of it, you know, like the concert portions of it. I just didn't know what I was going to see. I'm in love with the whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah. I've learned by now that Russ very rarely steers, or has never, I don't think, steered me wrong as far as something musically goes. Yeah. So I already knew that, I would musically like it, but the whole, like you were saying, the entire part where like you just, the candidness of it, it's amazing.
And to be honest, Kyle, I almost weeks prior to this, spoiler's not the right word, but I almost spoiled it and was like, oh, Kyle, you're going to love like the candid documentary filmmaker style of this. And I thought, no, I'm just going to let him see that on his own.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did, because I feel like if I would have said anything, maybe you would have went in with like a higher expectation. And because you went in not knowing what it was, I feel like you were maybe more impressed than if I had set you up for like, oh, this is how good it's going to be, you know? And so,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sam, Thank you
Yes.
so much for joining us on the Infectious Groove podcast. As you know, we have for years, literally years, been saying, oh man, we can't wait to have people on as guests. And we never do. But through a series of unfortunate events, we find ourselves in a position to be able to invite people on. And you were in line with folks who we knew would say, hey, as soon as you have an opening, I want to be there. So if you would please tell the whole free world that's listening one more time what it is you do and where people can find you.
Well, the short elevator pitch is we are three dads who have a weekly family friendly podcast where we hang out, tell jokes, joke around, whatever, and we talk to awesome guests, and we have legendary conversations from sports to history and everything in between. And literally everything in between those two things.
And then people can find you on nearly every podcast platform out there. I think if someone's streaming podcasts, the 500 Section Lounge can be found there.
Probably. And you can also go to oddpodsmedia.com and find the entire family of Oddpods Media shows.
You show can, which includes Kyle and I. So we are thankful.
And my other show.
And, and I'm so sorry. You actually have another show that's all, I don't know the sports. So you have
it's Big 10 plus 4. We talk college sports, and our tag there is college sports with a Midwest perspective.
There you go.
We're blue collar and blue blood, baby.
Solid. Next week on the program, Michelle is going to come back, so there will be a certain amount of confusion that was missing from this episode because we'll have Michelle back.
She's really not going to know what went on this week.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. No way. And on that episode, we will be coming back to a cover battle, and we will be joined by longtime supporters and listeners of the show, the Dad in a Rock podcast. So we are looking forward to having those gentlemen on because they are, again, in a long line of people where for 2 years I've been putting the finger up going, hold on, wait, I promise we're gonna have, just hold on. So we are excited to welcome them, and they will get a full earful of Michelle. So
I'm glad it wasn't just me. I thought maybe I didn't shower or my deodorant.
No, sir. It is 100% us. And by us, I mean all three of us that has caused this. Like we always say about this time, without music, life would be a mistake. Bye.
The Infectious Groove podcast is hosted by Russ Robinson, Kyle Wimple, and Michelle Koselecki. Produced and edited by Russ Robinson. Intro and outro music composed by Chris Kimmel. Recorded with a Rode Podcaster Pro and Rode Pod mics.